Welcome into Rob Wright's Gen X Pop Culture. And today, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite movies, Blade Runner. I'm going to tell you why I love it, and I'm going to tell you some of my favorite scenes. So let's bring up the slides, and we'll get started. So Blade Runner, if you don't know, this is kind of the intro to it, and what it's about is basically the Tyrell Corporation created advanced robots, androids, known as replicants. Basically, the replicants kind of rebelled, and there are 4 replicants that have made it from the off-worlds to Earth. And basically, the people that can stop them or hunt them are called Blade Runners. And that's kind of what it's about. It's about Harrison Ford, who's a Blade Runner, and he basically has to stop these 4 replicants. And these replicants are there because they're looking to extend their lives. They can only live for 4 years. So it's interesting, fascinating film. And let me tell you why I love it. So first off, this is a beautiful movie, wonderfully put together. Cinematography is amazing. There's so many interesting futuristic buildings. There's flying futuristic cars. There are interesting angles and direction with the shots in this film. And as you look at some of the slides, it really does look futuristic. And for 1982, this was it. This was interesting. So you see the buildings right here in some of these shots, and the advertising on the wall. Just really great. I loved it, and a lot of people love this movie for that. And originally, when it came out, people loved the futuristic design, but they didn't quite get the movie. And it took a while for people to really understand it and really get it. And for me as a kid, I didn't fully understand it either. I just thought it looked really cool. And then as I grew older, some of the other things made me love it. And one of those things is it's a mix of sci-fi and film noir. The sci-fi future stuff that you see here, and the film noir was really cool. It's kind of a throwback to the Philip Marlowe and the Sam Spade of Humphrey Bogart days. And, Harrison Ford does bring out some of the old bogey in some of the scenes, some of which I may talk about here. It's really interesting. It's fascinating the way he goes about doing it. Harrison Ford's fantastic in this movie. Rutger Hauer's amazing as well. So the other aspect of this movie that I really love is the philosophical aspects of it. What does it really mean to be human? How important is life, and how sacred is it? And then, are these androids known as replicants human? What does it mean to be human? What is humanity? Does this android replicant deserve a longer lifetime than 4 years? So that's what's so cool about this movie. There are a lot of philosophical discussions that you could have with your friends about it, and we had them. And it's just so cool, the blending of 2 real genres of sci-fi and film noir, and in a great, beautiful movie that's really well acted. Sean Young is also really beautiful and really good in this as well. So on to some of my favorite scenes as we get into this movie. One of the first scenes that I like is where you see here Leon, who's one of the replicants, and there's Rutger Hauer's character, Roy Batty, and they're meeting up, and he asked him, "Did you get your precious photos?" Well, the reason why replicants like photos so much is that they don't really have a memory or any past, and photos help them, connect with things. And so that's why photos are so important to replicants, and it's kind of a hint at who might be a replicant. So he talks to him right here, and then they go into this cool area, and they basically are trying to find a way to live longer. And so one of the guys that's developing eyes. So eyes are interesting in this movie. A lot of visual effects, but also the eyes, see. And you're seeing the world through not only the replicants, but through the Blade Runner of Harrison Ford's character as well. Anyway, this is the guy who creates the eyes, and they kind of attack him and kind of get information from him. And it's a really cool scene because he's in a completely frozen environment so that he can create the eyes. So it won't do any damage to him. He creates all the robotic eyes, and he even tells them that you're an Nexus 6. I created your eyes, which is kind of cool. It's really cool to see them go after him and get that information um, in that scene. Another important character in the background is Gaff, and he does all these different um, little he makes these little origami figures, and this is one of those origami figures that'll play some importance going forward. And you see Deckard and how he kind of researches to try and find these replicants, and one of the first ones that he goes after is Zhora. And this is a very interesting situation where he finds her, and she's kind of a performer with the snake, and he acts like he's a reporter, which is similar to what Bogart did in one of his movies, The Big Sleep. And it's a really good impersonation. And she discovers that he's after her, and she flees. He chases her, and he has to shoot her down. And that's a really cool scene. One of my favorites. So my next scenes are coming up. You see Sebastian getting to know Pris and how they use them. And then here's Deckard and his famous dream of the unicorns, which is very important to the movie. Later on when we talk about who Deckard might or might not be. And you see kind of how he researches them and figures them out. This is Pris manipulating Sebastian, and then Roy Batty shows up, and he and Pris share a kiss, showing that replicants can have love towards each other, showing a human emotion, which is another aspect of this film. And then he inquires about the chessboard. And this comes to my next favorite scene, where Batty and Sebastian meet Tyrell. And basically, Batty is intrigued by the chessboard, and the replicants have a much higher intelligence than humans. So he naturally picks up the game of chess very well and helps Sebastian to beat Tyrell. And you'll see their manipulation of him right here, and they're on their way up to Tyrell's place. And Batty tells Sebastian what move to make, and he checkmates Tyrell. And Tyrell's like, "This is interesting, Sebastian," and brings him up. And this is significant because Tyrell created all the replicants. And so this is kind of a meeting of their creator. And he's trying to find answers in ways that he can live longer than 4 years. And unfortunately, Tyrell's not able to give him any of the answers that he wants. So basically tells him, hey, all these options, none of these can be done. Nothing happens. And he kind of consoles him. But Batty, out of anger and emotion, basically kills Tyrell. And even though you don't see it on screen, he kills Sebastian as well. So it's interesting. Anyway, Harrison Ford's hunting them. He finds out about Sebastian's death. He decides to investigate Sebastian's home. And this is where Pris is here. And Pris is interesting because she's very acrobatic. She blends in with Sebastian's toys, and then she attacks Deckard. And she gives him the squeeze, as you can see here. And he's able to get out of it, and he's able to get free, and he shoots and kills her. And it sets up what's coming up with Roy Batty, which is my absolute favorite scene. So the scene with Pris is pretty awesome. That's an awesome fight. But then Roy Batty comes in, and it's interesting because Deckard shoots at him. He basically chides him for not being very sporting. Deckard kind of backs off and starts to run, and kind of finds him in between a wall, and he punches through the wall, and Roy Batty grabs him and breaks 2 of his fingers so that he can't fire his weapon as well. And then Batty's like, we're flipping the script, and I'm going to go chase you now. And so Roy Batty knows about Deckard. He knows who he is. And Deckard's trying to get away from him at this point. So he's in the chase, going through different rooms of the house. Batty comes after him. I can see you. He hides in a bathroom, and Roy Batty just smashes through it and then comes after him. And then he hits Batty with a pipe, and then runs out onto the ledge. And, Batty sees him on the ledge. He keeps climbing further and further to the top. He gets up to a rooftop. jumps over to another rooftop to try and get away from Batty. By this time, Batty sees him. Batty actually captures a dove, and Batty jumps to the other rooftop, and he looks over at Deckard, reaches out his hand, and actually saves Deckard. Deckard's about to fall, and he grabs him and saves him, and it puts him over and gives the most amazing speech. I won't spoil it by saying it, but it's the Tears and Rain speech, which is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best parts of this movie. It's one of the best overall monologues that you will ever see in film. It's actually, some of it was improvised by Rutger Hauer himself. It basically kind of accumulates the movie because it shows that they have experiences and moments and memories and stuff to really that they could bring into the world, and they're not given this much life to live. And so he's describing all the things that he's seen that normal people have never seen before, and he's telling them at the end of his life so that Deckard will remember him. All these things are going to be lost like tears and rain. And it's such a beautiful soliloquy. It's something that makes you think, okay, well, even though the replicants are kind of supposed to be the bad guy, are they really the bad guy at this point? Do they have a point? Do they have an existence that they should be allowed to live? It also brings up the points of how precious is life. How important are those moments? How important are memories? How important is it to pass that along? So it's very interesting, very sorrowful, and very sweet. And he says, time to die, and bows his head. And as he's dying, he releases the dove, which kind of, in my mind, is kind of a mirror of his soul flying away like the dove does, which is really cool and really interesting. So after this, Gaff shows up, tells Deckard he's done a man's job. And then Deckard goes back to get Rachel, who's been staying at his place. She's been hiding with him. And he basically says, too bad she won't live. But then again, who does? So that's another aspect of life. Live every moment. Make every moment of your life, which is another great philosophical discussion of this movie. And Deckard goes back to get her, and they're going to run away together. And as they're running out the door, he kind of stumbles over another one of Gaff's origamis, and it's the unicorn, which relates to his dream. And so that's Blade Runner, and those are my favorite scenes. This is why I love this movie, because it's so thought-provoking. It's so beautiful to look at. It's so well acted. It's just one of those perfect films that you watch and you get something new out of it philosophically every time you watch it. And yes, I do believe Deckard's a replicant. I think some of these scenes show it. And stay tuned later this week. I'm going to do another video on Blade Runner describing why I think and know Deckard is a replicant. What are some of your favorite scenes in this movie? What do you like about it? What drew your attention to it? What made you fall in love with this movie? Let's share those comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.